All right, listen up. Let's get real about OKRs. You know, those objectives and key results everyone is raving about. Yeah, some folks out there are so hyped about OKRs that you'd think they found world peace or something. But here's the thing, while OKR fan club are busy throwing confetti around, they tend to leave out the tiny little detail. The fact that it's not all sunshine and unicorns. In fact, a lot of books, blog posts, and articles written on OKRs treat them like they're flawless. Like OKRs could do no wrong and everything is perfect about them. But in reality, they're not. When I was working on my PhD, this was the information that was harder to track down and also probably the most frustrating part to write because most people don't talk about what's wrong with OKRs or what can be wrong with OKRs. The truth, implementing OKRs can be messy. And it's not because the system is broken, it's actually pretty simple and straightforward, but because of the implementation itself or because of the organization in which you're trying to implement them. See, the real drama starts when you try to squeeze this agile, fast paced framework into a rigid, traditional company mindset. Try doing a TikTok dance in a board meeting and see how that goes. I'm sure this is going to be very awkward. Now, dynamic, open, collaborative companies, they usually make it work, but bureaucratic, control freaky ones, they struggle. Think about running in the sand type of struggle. So before you go slapping OKRs on everything, just know it's not just about the tool. It's about whether your organization is actually ready for the tool or not. Coming up next, we're breaking down the most common OKR challenges, and we divided them neatly into two main categories. One, problems from within the OKR system, and the second one are problems that are caused by external forces. For the new folks here, I'm Ali, a PhD in performance management. Sounds fancy, right? I spend my days as a management consultant, and in my off time, I'm basically your cool aunt in everything related to performance and organizational management. And I try to cut through nonsense in the workplace. I have zero patience for corporate jargon and fluff. And I believe work doesn't have to be complicated. So why make it harder, right? Join me as I keep performance management and office life straightforward and hopefully refreshingly jargon free for you. Now, let's dive into the not so glamorous side of OKRs and maybe spare you some implementation headaches. The one with problems from within the OKR system. Number one, alignment, which is definitely easier said than done. Sure, OKRs are all about alignment, horizontal, vertical, and any other direction in between. But let's be honest, getting everyone aligned and getting everyone on the same page is much harder than it looks. Cross functional collaboration sounds very cute, but that's until you juggle conflicting priorities, unclear strategies, and sometimes way too many stakeholders. Without a shared understanding on the direction, teams can't even begin to write their OKRs. And please stop turning key results from the upper level into objectives for the lower level, or at least turning this into a rule. This is just lazy and most times kills creativity. While it can work in some cases, it definitely cannot be a rule. The second problem, setting objectives. Now, not everyone's a poet, and OKRs usually ask teams to set inspiring, clear objectives. The problem with this, well, teams used to get their objectives and they used to being told what to do, while now they have to think this for themselves. Cue panic. Now, most folks aren't used to having this much freedom, and usually it shows. They don't know how to write objectives, they don't know what to put in objectives. They either go too vague or they try to write everything at once, usually maybe in the same phrase. Now, you need the right time frame, you need alignment with the top, you need solid prioritization. Without training, guidance, patience, and sometimes even a real pep talk from leadership, you can expect chaos when writing objectives. Oh, and newsflash, too many OKRs does equal a hot mess. Just pick your battles and focus on the most important objectives. The third issue, key results, which are not your to-do list. One of the biggest rookie mistakes is confusing key results with tasks. And no, sending 3 emails is not a key result. A key result should be a measurable outcome, not a checkbox. You see, the trick is finding the sweet spot. Not too easy, not too crazy, and definitely not vague. In a previous video, we've already explained the 3 probing questions that I use for setting good key results, so go check it out if you want. While metrics help, Doer, for example, isn't super strict about this. So just use your judgment and maybe an expert's advice. Also, sometimes not everything can be perfectly measured or perfectly controlled, so deal with a bit of uncertainty in your key results. The fourth issue, the manual madness. Most organizations still use spreadsheets, and I can understand that this is the easiest, most comfortable solution, and clearly it's there for everyone to use. But unfortunately, tracking OKRs manually, especially in big organizations or medium to large organizations, can get out of hand very fast. Now, I'm not the biggest on using software solutions, but I do understand that in most organizations, it is the smart move, and it's much easier, it's much more controllable, as well as it is much more comfortable for everyone to use a software solution than keeping track of things in a shared spreadsheet with thousands of OKRs. Maybe not thousands, but I'm just exaggerating a bit. With thousands of OKRs out there, and they just try to find their spreadsheet, try to find their place in that spreadsheet. Fifth issue is when we get some reporting drama. Now, if reporting takes forever or depends on a data wizard or somebody from another team or another department, then OKRs are starting to become a bottleneck instead of a booster. Weekly check-ins sound very easy and probably something that most team leads would agree is a good choice until your data lives in 10 different spreadsheets managed by a team that's sometimes already drowning. Short reporting cycles can backfire in this case, especially in slow-moving areas. Now, skipping check-ins is definitely not the smart solution. That's how OKRs turn into just another system or burning productivity, as people on Reddit said in the previous video. Try to keep it short, keep it sweet, keep it consistent, but definitely make sure you don't forget to report on your OKRs and discuss about the progress, what's hindering, and just overall trying to get some feedback from your teams. Up next, time issues. Now, here's the harsh truth. You won't get it right from the first time. OKRs usually take time, take some effort, and they do take some do-overs. I won't say lots of them, depending on your organization, but probably you need few months, and yes, months, in order to get it right. I know execs might want this done yesterday, but before you see real benefits, you need your teams to be comfortable writing objectives and key results. So don't rush it. Train, reflect, iterate, be flexible and change when you see issues in your OKRs, because this isn't a 1 quarter miracle. The seventh issue, subjectivity struggles. Now, unlike balanced scorecard, OKRs aren't black and white. They are messy, they're a bit more personal, and they are subjective. What do I mean by that is when we're trying to find the perfect balance, for example, between stretched and realistic, you have to take into account someone's background, their education, their risk appetite, and those things are subjective. So trying to exclude subjectivity from OKRs is most likely impossible, and it's a futile task. But this is also what makes OKRs so special, because they rely on intrinsic motivation, they rely on the person's view of the world, and this is what can trigger creativity and innovation. Last issue in this batch, no experts, no good progress. Now, what do I mean by that is too many teams and too many people just Google OKRs. and they consider themselves experts, and they basically start winging it from there. But again, it shows, because without real training, without guidance, and just by reading an article or reading a blog post, setting OKRs is not going to work. And this is just setting your teams to failure from the get go. OKRs might be simple, but they are nuanced. And if you don't get any training on this, you will miss a lot of subtle issues that might arise. Now, get help or maybe get ready to fail. You do need OKR coaches, even if those OKR coaches are internal. I'm not saying get a consultant, but what I'm saying is make sure you use someone that really understands the system and can keep the teams accountable when it comes to writing good OKRs, when it comes to alignment, when it comes to check ins, and all the other issues we have discussed. It's not a magic solution, but it is a good method to implementing OKRs properly in your organization. The one with external causes. Number one, cultural clash. Now, if your company screams control freak, or everyone says, this is how we've always done things, don't even bother with OKRs. As Drucker famously said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And whether you agree with this saying or not, OKRs are no exception. Because if your organization isn't ready to flex, fail, and then try again, OKRs will flop. Now, if you want OKRs to work, you need to start by building a culture that actually supports them first. Control freak leaders equal instant fail. Micromanagers, be aware. OKRs don't mix well with power hoarding bosses who refuse to let go. If your leadership can't shift from command and control to coach and collaborate, don't expect teams to thrive with OKRs. A lot of people say leadership is one of the biggest blockages in working with OKRs, and I couldn't agree more. Also, no buying from the top, don't bother starting. Employees ghosting the process, that will result in no engagement and no ownership whatsoever. If employees don't care or don't get it, or maybe they don't trust it, they won't use it. Now, OKRs are not a spectator sport. Lack of engagement destroys OKRs faster than a Monday morning meeting, which I know we all hate. Employees ignoring each other's objective, having passive aggressive resistance, or just not trusting the system, it happens to all of us. The solution is to show them what's in it for them, or just watch it flop. Fourth issue here, being misunderstood as performance reviews. Newsflash. OKRs aren't your boring performance review or performance metrics in disguise. If people think it's just a fancy way of tracking their bonuses or being micromanaged for their outputs, you've missed the whole point. Clear the confusion before you launch, or everyone is just going to roll their eyes and move on. When people think they will get the carrot or the stick based on the OKR scores, you lose the intrinsic motivation, but do gain a whole lot of stress. Now, this leads us to the next one. Where's my bonus? If you ditch bonuses without a plan, expect pitchforks. OKRs should not be tied to paychecks, compensations, or any other sort of comp and ben schemes. But if your employees are used to this formula, performance equals cash, prepare for drama. Because what they will say is, wait, so you want me to work more or stretch or be innovative, but without getting the benefit, without getting any bonus for this, or without getting any bonus for hitting my objective? Well, good luck with that selling point. Now, what I would advise is work with a specialist in compensation and benefit and find the right way to make the transition before things will go off the rails. Number 6, too scared to fail. OKRs are built for bold moves, not safe bets. Now, low risk cultures that have uncertainty are not the best match for OKRs, are not the best culture, are not the best environment for OKRs to thrive. If you're afraid of setting stretched objectives or letting teams experiment in any way, don't expect innovation or progress. Maybe just OKR shaped checkboxes. Last one here, OKRs shouldn't equal burnout fuel. Now, if you're using OKRs to pile more work onto already stressed teams, congratulations, you're doing it wrong. Aspirational shouldn't equal impossible. The goal isn't to work faster. The goal isn't to work more. The goal is to be innovative, to be creative, and to push the boundaries. Now, please stop weaponizing OKRs as productivity tools. Stop using them as a way to just make people work more for the same money. That's how burnout begins, and this is where creativity usually dies. And so does engagement at this point. TLDR, OKRs are simple in theory, but they can be very messy in real life. You want success? Then drop the fantasy and get real about hurdles. Cultural resistance, control freak bosses, low employee buy in, confusing OKRs with performance reviews, expect bonus, or just try to put more work on employees instead of allowing them to be creative, and add risk averse mindset to this, burnout traps, and any sort of misalignment chaos, and you've got a recipe for struggle or for disaster directly. So invest in training, get leadership on board, be patient, and remember, OKRs aren't a checklist, they're a full on mindset shift. I would say treat them like that or just don't bother. OKRs won't save your company, but done right, it might just transform it. Ready to do OKRs right? Well, let's drop the drama and talk next week about what works and what are the benefits that OKRs can bring when done right. Also, we can look into how to do OKRs right. Ready to crush your goals and make performance less painful? Share your wins, struggles, or questions below. I do want to hear your story. So let's like, share, and build here a community that actually gets how to make performance work. And together, I think we'll turn the chaos into clarity. Thanks for hanging out.